Hi everyone, it's Vibeke here. I've decided to share with you 5 installments that I've written up. First one being on the 19th of March of this year. And I feel like by sharing these on video, of course you don't have to read, they're very long. They seem to get longer as I go through them. But it's just sharing my experiences with my sister when she passed, and what happened the days that followed her passing. And I really feel that this knowledge will help so many who have lost family members to just find a new perspective on death and what it all means. And especially with what we're going through right now on this planet, I really feel it might help many. So I'm just going to start reading them out, and I'd love to for anyone who resonates just to leave feedback and to find out whether this resonates, like if it makes sense to you, because this experience I had in this first installment that I'll share with you has literally changed my life, changed my whole view on the world, made my life a whole lot better, a lot easier. So here goes. What If is a series of thought-provoking messages that I have been guided to offer to open your heart and allow you to see, understand, feel and know what you think you know from a different perspective. To encourage one to consider new ideas that will activate your intelligence within and break the spell of amnesia, which will allow you to discover the truth of who you are, to remember your mission and why you chose to be here at this very significant time in Earth's history, as a new Earth opens its doors to all who are ready to integrate and experience heaven here on Earth. Today's message: what if the family that raised me had signed an agreement with me before I was born, was one of the most significant messages I received firsthand only a few weeks after my sister Melody died on the 16th of March 2018. To be honest, I cannot remember how many days exactly that it was that my sister came to me after she passed, but it was the 4th visit I experienced from her in spirit form over a period of 2.5 weeks. I had been on my own spiritual journey since 2008, experiencing my first Kundalini awakening in 2012, so I was already quite comfortable communicating with spirit, be it angels, ascended masters, fairies, elementals, extraterrestrials, or even Mother Gaia and her plant and animal kingdom. One morning I was doing the dishes when I heard my sister call out to me, "Do you want to come with me? Do you want to see what I'm seeing?" she said. I instantly knew she wanted me to allow her spirit to step in so I could channel her, so I too could experience what she was experiencing on the other side. She was being called forth for her life review, and I could feel she was nervous about it, but relieved that I could stand by her for support. Together we stepped into a large cathedral-like space, like nothing I had ever seen on Earth, with colours of purple, blue, magenta and white, and in front of us were 12 light beings. Melody and I stood nervously waiting for what would happen next, when we were overwhelmed with feelings of love and compassion. It was so intense I burst into tears, and in real life too, not just on the other side, and knew it was a telepathic communication from these beings in front of us. They were letting my sister know that she was about to see her life in review, together with all of her experiences while she was here on the earth. It was expressed to her to remember that there is no judgment and no condemnation, and that she was to remember that all participants chose and agreed to the events that unfolded. Then a massive screen, just like a giant movie screen, popped up in front of us, and her life from conception to birth, to adolescence, to teenager, to adulthood, played out in front of us. All interactions were replayed to show the times when she was hurt and times when she hurt others. All sides of the story were shown in real time to help her understand how each person involved may have misunderstood the other and how conflict was born. She learned of her ill health and how her kidney failure began to unfold from carrying guilt, resentment and blame from her childhood. She learned how fear played a part in many of the choices she made in her life, and how misperception of situations and experiences from earlier years led to unresolved anger, hurt, and deep sadness. She found it hard to watch as she spent a lot of her early years blaming others for her misfortunes and carried much resentment inside of her for much of her life. Melody was born with a cleft palate and experienced bullying as a child, and into her teenage years, which affected her as she grew up, always believing she wasn't good enough, pretty enough, and believed it to be true, as if bullying was proof she deserved to be treated this way. At the same time, she was also crying for the perpetrators, those that treated her badly, because she could now see that their drive to be mean and nasty to her was merely their way of expressing and releasing the pain they were carrying inside of them. She could see that they were in even more pain than she was at the time. This allowed her to forgive them, and as she did, I could see and feel these people here on the earth plane experiencing a release of shame and guilt that they unknowingly had been carrying around inside of them for treating her badly. Through this experience of the life review, she was able to forgive all who harmed her and forgive herself for harming others, whether intentional or not. While my sister was experiencing this, I was also feeling everything she was, and I could also feel a release, a huge weight off my shoulders in myself. And as she could I felt a huge weight off my shoulders in myself, as she could finally see my point of view and why I made the choices that I'd made. And this was all happening while we were standing there. We could both feel it, even though she'd passed and she's on the other side. It was so real, it was amazing. My sister and I had judged each other many times over the lifetime we had shared. While she was here, and even though we were best friends before she passed, we still carried within our energy body much sadness, regret, unresolved hurt and misunderstandings. All of this was resolved through the life review by seeing each other's reasons for doing what we did and realizing we both had made some wrong choices in our life, simply out of fear of not being loved and accepted for just being ourselves. We were able to forgive each other and love each other without condition. Immediately after this, I experienced my own life review and met all my family and friends that have passed, as well as those still living now. My relationships with all of them. I saw myself sitting down with my parents on another version of Earth, discussing what we had learned and what many call a past life, which I now refer to as just another timeline. From what we had learned and what we had failed to learn in a past timeline, we can decide what experiences we might like to try out on our next incarnation. I saw in detail the ideas of what each might like to experience, and then as soon as an agreement had been signed, my husband and son's agreements were shown to me, followed by many of my friends, acquaintances, and past relationships. Like my sister, I too was able to see all perspectives of the interactions that have played out in my relationships, both past and present. This enabled me to immediately forgive everyone and see the truth behind our misunderstandings, and know that everyone starts out with their best intentions based on their life experiences, and that I have no right to judge anyone. This was really deep, that lesson. Just understanding that I had no right to judge anyone. Everyone is right if you stand in their shoes and see their situation from their viewpoint. And this is what we all must learn. This experience for my sister was not painful, as right from the moment we were greeted with these beings of light, our heart was opened and reconnected to source energy. It was like returning home. You instantly remember who you are and what you're doing there, and the life review is like looking back on a game you played, seeing what you might have done differently if only you realized and remembered to listen to your guidance system, your heart, which is your compass to direct you through life. I have learned that we don't have to die to go to heaven, and I know now I was gifted with this insight for a reason, and that reason is to share my story and my experiences with those who resonate and are drawn to my messages. My sister came to me on the 16th of March 2020 to tell me that it's time to climb out of my spiritual closet and begin sharing the messages I have been receiving since this experience. And that's what I began to do and write in written form. But at the time, a few months back, with everything that was happening, I probably only got about 7 views and 6 comments, and I was just posting it on Facebook. But now months have passed, and my sister came to me again and has told me that I needed to put these on in video format because people need to know now. None of us have time to read. We want to know the answers, and we want our questions answered yesterday. So I can continue to write here. So I will continue to share my journey and hope that those who have lost a loved one might find some peace, knowing what happens on the other side, and that our leaving the earth plane is not by accident. It was agreed by you to enable you to experience where that loss takes you, and how you find the strength and courage to cross over to the other side of grief and loss, and to love again. This experience changed my life and encouraged me to dive even deeper into understanding who we really are as human beings and where we come from. What I have learned, I will now begin to share with a knowing it will assist you on your own personal journey to reunite with your soul. Thanks for listening. I'll be posting up the second installment shortly. I'm not very tech savvy, as I've shared with a few of you who have been sending me messages, so bear with me. I'm going to have my son help me get these up on video, and I'm in the process of trying to create a group. I've got it set up, it's just learning how to do all the little bits and pieces that make it all work. I'll probably be calling on some of you to help me out with all of this. But in the meantime, I hope you enjoyed this. Please like or love, comment and share. I really feel this message is important, and the ones that follow, and it's all part of bringing us all together. we know who we are, bringing our soul family together so we can share all of our stories like this one, to awaken those that are still very deep asleep. We have to come at this with love, not fear. No swords, no shields, just love. Okay, we'll talk to you again soon. Bye for now.